Hi guys, one of our most popular episodes every year is the episodes taped at Motor City Nightmares Convention. Well, it's that time of year again and we're here to tape. Motor City Nightmares 2016 is here and we're going to be up and down the convention floor and we're going to grab the coolest guests. We're going to bring them up here and we're going to talk a little bit. So stay tuned for Cult Pop. With me now is the godfather of Troma Entertainment, Mr. Lloyd Kaufman. And Toxie, Mr. Toxie, as we like to call him, the Toxic Avenger. Wow. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for being with me today. I am beyond pleased to have you on Cult Pop today.
Well, speaking for the Toxic Avenger, Jim, Cult Pop is pretty much our favorite form of education.
Yeah.
We've learned so much from Cult Pop.
I appreciate that, gentlemen. It is a way of higher learning, and you can learn a lot. Yeah. And I know you need to learn a lot. Having that messed up eye, you got to see what you can do to fix that, Toxie. But you're looking good, and I want to thank you for making an appearance today.
I'm not good with Braille, but because I went to public school in Tromaville, so that sort of inhibits my abilities.
Well, you look fantastic, and I appreciate the visit.
Well, if I may correct you, it's fantoxic.
Oh, excellent. Mr. Kaufman, let's jump right in, and I'd like to...
a little upset about it.
I'm sorry, Toxie.
Do not look him in the eye, by the way. No direct eye contact with Toxie.
It is kind of hard. You don't know which one to look at. It's difficult. Okay.
You gotta look down.
Mr. Kaufman, let's jump right in, and I'd like to talk a little bit about Troma Entertainment, all the stuff you've done, the Toxic Avenger, and what a stamp you've left on entertainment. And if you could, tell me about the early days and kind of how and why you got into the horror realm. Like
well, we didn't just want to leave a stamp on the world of entertainment. We wanted to leave a coin and maybe a couple of dollar bills and some jokes of that fine quality. How did I get into the movie business? That's such a boring story, but how did we get into the movie business, Toxie? I went to Yale, I think. It was the 1960s. I was going to be a social worker or a teacher, make the world a better place. But I was put in the room with a movie nut. In those days, I wanted to teach people with hooks for hands how to finger paint, teach bums. This is before your time, but there were a lot of bums around in New York. We wanted to teach them how to paint happy faces on beads, string the beads together. And but unfortunately, I got stuck with this movie nut in my room at Yale. He operated the Yale Film Society, and I would drift in to see these great movies night after night after night, and eventually I caught the movie virus. I found out that I didn't want to just teach the people with hooks for hands how to finger paint. I wanted to film them. I wanted to film the bums painting the happy beads. It just was. I got out of that room and the auditorium where I was seeing Fritz Lang's, no, it was Ernst Lubitsch's To Be or Not to Be, with Carol Lombard, Robert Stack, and the great Jack Benny. And so if you want to blame somebody for Troma,
blame Jack Benny.
Go urinate on
He's not the first.
Ernst Lubitsch's grave.
Whatever happened to your roommate?
My roommate has worked for the New York Times for over 30 years, and his name is Maureen Dowd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. If I could, I'd like to maybe bring up a couple of movies, and then if maybe both of you, specifically the first one.
You may be bringing up some movies, but I'm going to be bringing up that lunch we had. Troma doesn't have much for food these days. Hope I don't bring it up.
Still cheese sandwiches.
Let me share a couple.
More expensive. Cheese is really expensive these days.
The government stopped subsidizing it.
Is that why it's so expensive?
That's why cheese is expensive now.
It's crazy expensive. Is that it? Because it's not subsidized. So it's the market, because cheese costs more than meat. I don't eat meat.
Oh,
but
vegan or vegetarian?
I eat a certain kind of sausage, as Toxie will tell you.
Oh, boy.
We have to earn the money somehow.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Anyway,
before we completely lose the comedy
Cult Pop.
If I may, I'd like to throw up a couple of movies and then just thoughts about it, reminiscences.
Thoughts?
People,
you think
people
I do
would like to know some little
You've seen
story.
my movies. What kind of thinking do you think I do?
Well, let's go
I don't
right here.
have any thoughts.
We've got Toxie. Let's jump right in.
Yeah, Toxie. All right.
Share with me a story or a thought or something my fans would be interested in about the thing that started all, the Toxic Avenger.
Well, that's again, I've written 6 books, Jim. 6 books. One is called All I Need to Know About Filmmaking I Learned From
The Toxic Avenger.
Who wrote it?
The Toxic Avenger, of course.
See?
No.
Toxie. And James Gunn helped him. But James Gunn went on to write Tromeo and Juliet, one of Toxie's favorite Troma movies. And James Gunn just finished writing a little movie called Guardians of the Galaxy, which he also directed, in which Lloyd Kaufman has 2 seconds of glory. Now, where were we? We were talking about the Toxic Avenger. Michael Herz, my partner of 42 years, we were making these raunchy comedies, Squeeze Play, Waitress, Stuck on You, First Turn On. And I mean, I'm so boring. Are you sure you want to ask me these
Absolutely,
long stories?
because people want to know this.
We found the raunchy comedy, and we were doing well with that. But then the studios, we were doing it before Porky's. But then the big studios come along. They're making the movies we're making, except they're cheating. They're using good actors and good scripts. So, hey, we got to go find some other area to work in. So one day, Michael Herz was reading Variety. That's the house organ for for all the big studios. And they said horror films are dead commercially. So what do? We say, if the experts say horror films don't work, then we do the opposite of the experts. So we decided we would make ourselves a horror film. But we love comedy, but we love Frankenstein. I always wanted Frankenstein to live. And I was camping a lot with my wife, and we'd see garbage everywhere. Back in 1982, we were very concerned about the environment, long before Al Gore stole the Nobel Peace Prize and invented the internet. Yes, exactly. And before his fat brood sow of a wife tried to censor your right to listen to music. Before that, we were onto the environment, and we sort of mixed all that together. Frankenstein, the environment, Charlie Chaplin, the fact that we thought if we went into the horror area and do what the experts say not to do, and we had a big success. How lucky were we? Thank you, Toxie.
Oh, yeah.
30 years later, pounding them away, pounding them up.
Toxie's the only hideously deformed creature of superhuman size and strength who has actually had a cartoon show modeled on him. And he's sorry, but his only what makes it different is that his movie has a young boy getting his head squashed by the wheel of an automobile, and I don't think Superman ever had that in his film when he had or Batman.
Yeah.
No, they had cartoons, but you're the only one who had a movie with the kid's head being squashed.
There was the Norwegian snuff film that Batman did, but we don't talk about
but that
it.
wasn't made into a Saturday morning environmentally correct cartoon show.
No, it wasn't.
I do have a question for Toxie.
Yeah.
Toxie, when the eyes start to go as you get a little bit older, and that happens to all of us, and you have to make a decision, is it glasses or contacts for you?
2 monocles.
2 monocles. Excellent, excellent. Well, that'll be a great look. I was just curious how Toxie would handle that in the future. You'll look fantastic with the monocles, I must say. Two monocles. Mr. Kaufman, if I could switch...
tutus. Toxie wears a tutu.
And he looks beautiful in it. Mr. Kaufman, if I can switch gears, I really find it interesting when I look at the IMDb. Now your acting credits are larger than your directing and producing credits because so many horror filmmakers want to pay homage to you and say thank you for opening the doors and kicking down doors and getting the business out there so many people can make films now. Like you said, it was dead, it wasn't a way to make money, now it is, and your company is really a big reason for that.
Oh, thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about the thought of how mentoring so many different people, even if you didn't have them necessarily under your umbrella, how what you've done in your work in the 80s and 90s and today has mentored so many filmmakers?
Well, again, Troma is fueled by our fans all along, especially when we got famous. After Toxie, a lot of people gravitated toward it, and we teach them. And they give us great ideas. Michael Herz and I learn a lot from our fans, from the young people. They're the ones who are not afraid. They're the ones who are positive. They're the ones who are idealistic and believe in art. So yes, we give them a lot, and they learn a lot from making our movies or being in them, but we learn a lot. And the movies that I'm in about 200 or 300 movies. Mm-hmm. Most of them are by people who nobody's heard of. I've been in movies by Mike Hartman, who is a Detroit filmmaker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who now people have heard of. And we've been distributing a couple of his movies. Most recently, Chubby's is going to have its world premiere.
I'm a big fan of Mike's work.
Well, Chubby's, his new film, is going to have a world premiere on Troma Now, which is Troma's subscription service. The first month is free. We have world premiere movies on Troma Now. It's troma.watch.now, right, Toxie? And Chubby's May 1st will have its premiere there, along with the movies that I curated from the Troma library. But it's the first month is free, so you can see Chubby's for free. And we also have 300 movies on our Troma YouTube channel, which are all free. To thank our fans for 42 years of support, Toxie and Michael Herz and I decided we would give away most of our library to thank our fans. Also, there are a lot of short films on Troma's YouTube, Troma Movies on YouTube. Short pieces, my movie making lessons. Speaking of mentoring, a lot of young people have been subscribing to Troma Movies because it's free, and they are learning a lot about making movies too. It's a community of artists, about 150,000 subscribers. And
I'll make sure
they
we
talk
link
to each other, and I think that would be a nice thing for people who are watching the show.
We'll link that up to make sure people can get to it.
Yeah.
Now, talking about the fans and continuing with that thought process.
Well, you shouldn't just think about the fans, Toxie, right? I mean, there's more to the fans. You know, there's also, in addition to the fans, the air conditioners. So,
Oh.
you're a little racist there.
Do-do.
So, please. We're very
At a
politically
convention
correct.
like this,
Yes. This is a great convention. If I may just plug, and I'm not really plugging it, I'm adoring it, the Motor City Nightmares. Beautifully, Todd and Tommy do a great deal. Wonderful job of the security. It's calm. No, it's very subtle, beautifully organized. It's just great. And the fans are lovely, and you couldn't have, and the air conditioners, of course. So it's a wonderful, I'd say it's the best convention that Toxic Avenger and Troma have been to.
Oh, fantastic! Because I know
No.
the fans are super
Fantoxic, please.
Fans are super happy to have you here. I'm
No,
super
thank
happy
you.
to have you here.
Thanks, Jim.
I want to talk about that. Looking at all the fans, they're coming around. All of them coming to your table have a smile on their face. Young people, older people. They see Toxie. They see you.
Are they laughing at me? Is that
Well, a little bit of
I'm a
laughing at
sad
you,
clown. I'm a
laughing
sad-
with you. What?
But as Shakespeare said, comedy is the mistress of tragedy.
And as long as
Shakespeare.
they're laughing, Lloyd. As long as they're laughing.
Even if they're laughing at me, so what?
But I'd like both of your thoughts on the fact that you get all these people coming out.
See, I'm blowing my nose. You don't see Martin Scorsese blowing his nose. I'm so real, Toxie. You know?
I like it. I like it.
You know what I mean?
Salt of the earth.
Exactly, and the pepper of the earth. Not to mention the oregano of the earth. I'm more like the cilantro of the earth. It sort of tastes like soap.
Wow.
Although I like cilantro.
Talk a little bit, if you will,
Yes.
both of you, your thoughts on dealing with this weekend and other conventions, but dealing with the fans that come up and the interaction, because it's got to be rewarding to have people come up and say, I love this movie. Toxie, I love you in this. My kids love you. I love you. We love these films. I love Poultrygeist. Talk a little bit about the interaction and what that means to you.
You have a little trouble because the fans, you're a celebrity, a movie star, so the women, you have a little problem with the women, I
Yeah, I
think.
have to fight them off. But I have my mop. That's why I bring my mop, because I don't trust mace. I've had it in my one eye too many times.
Yeah.
But,
But you also, you can't get involved in scandals. You don't want to be like Lindsay Lohan or Kasparian,
Well, I have to
Kardashians or whoever they are, right?
Yeah, I have to keep
See, he's got a whole problem with celebrity.
TMZ
I don't
comes
have
after.
that particular problem, but all I can tell you is the Troma fans are the nicest people in the world. The horror and the sci-fi fans are great, but of those, the Troma fans are so generous. They work for us for free. All over the world, they go to their movie theaters and they say, I want to see Return to Nukem High Volume 2. In other words, otherwise our movies wouldn't be in movie theaters. Return to Nukem High Volume 1 was in about 300 theaters. I would say half of them were fueled, where the engagements were brought about by fans.
demanding.
Yeah. If there's 6 screens, the theater owner is going to play our film. If there are enough fans who are asking for it, they'll play it, right? Why should they play just what Paramount tells them to play? You know what I mean?
Well, movie theaters need to listen to fans now, because a lot of people don't want to come out to the movies, but they will come out to see the movies they want to see.
Yeah, that's right.
Toxic Avenger, Poultrygeist.
Troma
different
fans
things.
are so good to us. We wouldn't be here without them, without a doubt.
I'd like to ask, if you would, so that the fans know, let's promote a few things. Tell people how they can learn more about your movies. Tell people again about the streaming site. And let's get them to your Facebook, your websites, and all that, so people can learn more, order movies, and see some good movie making.
Well, Toxie, what do you think is the best way to get into the world of Troma? Is there a website?
Yes, www.troma.com.
And what else would be interesting? I have a Twitter, and I actually answer all my own, @Lloyd Kaufman. You have to know how to spell Lloyd, though. L-L-O-Y-D, not L-Y-O-D. Most people spell it L-Y-O-D. I don't know why.
And they
But
won't reach you.
At Lloyd Kaufman, I answer all that stuff. So if you have
Okay.
movie-making questions. And of course, Troma Movies, where you have 300 movies. Many of them are movies that are not on our DVDs, kind of like Buried Treasure, and then Troma Now. Troma Movies is on YouTube, right,
Yep.
Toxie? And then Troma Now, what's the deal
Troma
with
movies, and then
Troma Now? What's that deal?
It's troma.watch.now.
Troma.watch.now. Troma.watch. Okay, nice. Troma.watch.now. That's a subscription, $4.99 a month, but first month is free, and you get the world premiere movies. So, I mean, Troma's. I have a fan site. I also answer the fan site, LloydKaufman.com. They send me I get the questions or letters, and I answer most of those. Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And what's coming down the pike? What should people be looking out for? What do you want people buying besides
What's coming down the pipe,
subscription
Toxie?
service?
What's
your
going?
lunch?
Yeah, well, that's for sure. I had
Coming up and
had a
down
big
the pipe.
burrito not long ago. So what else, Toxie?
Return to Newcomb High Volume 2.
Oh yes, Return to Newcomb High, the second half of Return to Newcomb High, which the first volume premiered at the New York Museum of Modern Art in a series along with the new films of Scorsese and Woody Allen and the Coen brothers. It was in the Contenders series, and the second half is better. But
Okay.
the two movies together will form a 3-hour opus maximus, I would say. Right?
A mini series.
Yeah, it's like a miniseries. You're right. You're right. You're
It's
right.
the Troma's roots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good point, Toxie. And then Chubby's starts May 1st on Troma Now, troma.watch.com. Chubby's by Detroit's own Mike Hartman. Troma Dance Detroit's coming up. If any of you make movies out there, Troma Dance New York is July 29th. Troma Dance Detroit is
August 13th.
August 13th. You can submit your movies for free. You can see all the movies for free, and no VIP policy. So everybody, the big party we have in Brooklyn, New York, everybody, whoever gets there first gets in. It's not
Wow,
like
okay.
Well,
nobody's
that
cut-
one's VIP
nobody's
in
cutting.
Tromaville.
In Tromaville, you're right. And also a lot of pee too.
Yeah, oh,
So
yeah.
we do very
Well,
nicely.
you
out of
finally
that.
got the bums to move in to draw the faces.
No, we didn't have to get them to move in.
Well,
They were already there?
Oh
Thumbs
yeah,
up.
New York.
Okay.
Summertime, the smell of bums piss come out of your house. Yeah, only in New York.
Summer in New
is
York.
wonderful,
Makes you want to
yeah.
sing, doesn't it?
Oh boy, sure does.
One final question for both of you. For you, Mr. Kaufman, do you have any words of wisdom for filmmakers out there, young filmmakers, old filmmakers, people thinking, I want to get into the business?
Well, after listening to this interview, you're not going to get any words of wisdom from me, buddy. I'm surprised you even asked. But I think, Toxie, you would agree with me that the Bard summed it up, Shakespeare summed it up the best. To thine own self be true, a phrase coined by one William Shakespeare, who wrote the bestseller 101 money-making screenplay ideas, otherwise known as Hamlet. So I would say that do what you believe in.
Beautiful. Toxie, the final question for you. What does one do to become an iconic horror figure through the decades? What do you do?
Well, I would say Toxie just tries to be the best Toxie he can every day and goes out there and just makes his own damn movie.
Absolutely
Wow.
beautiful.
Nicely said, Toxie.
Wise and beautiful words, you two.
Beautiful. And by the way, Toxie has a musical that opened yesterday in London. The Toxic Avenger musical played a year in New York. Bon Jovi's David Bryan wrote the music. And it opened last night in London. And Uncle Lloydie and Toxie are going over there to help them promote it. We'll be at the show May 2nd and 3rd. I have a Q&A in London's Southwark Theatre. And Toxie will be right there with me.
Beautiful. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It is my sincere pleasure to have you on the show today. I'm going to make sure we
Was it
link
really
up.
sincere
Absolutely.
pleasure?
It
No,
is very
come
much
on.
so.
Was it
Very
really
much so, Mr.
sincere
Kaufman.
pleasure?
It is my sincere
No,
pleasure.
you can tell us.
I am very happy to have you on. Toxie looks great. You look
That's
great.
nice. That's good. We did
It's
all right,
been my
Toxie.
pleasure to have you
Good.
on, and we're going to do everything we can to link up all the different websites you're talking about, your books, your movies. We'll have all that linked up at our website and make sure we funnel people your way.
You won't mention anything about the sex tape, right?
We won't talk to that, and any tax questions I'll
But
push
there's
off.
no revenue, so no worries.
Thank you so much for being on the
nudie
show, man.
pictures of Lindsay Lohan and me. That somebody else's face on those.
Oh, I understand that.
It was not I.
Thank you very much, John, for being on the show. I
John.
appreciate it. Jim.
John. I did that. I was that on purpose.
Okay.
I'm a good actor, right? See,
Very
now you
good.
know why they have me in all those movies.
Very good. Toxie. Thank you, buddy.
You've
give
outdone
me a
your.
hug.
Oh, Toxie
thank
loves
you. Thank you. Folks,
Toxie
stay
loves
tuned
you.
for more Cult Pop. Welcome back. With me now is Boyd Banks. Boyd, I'm really excited to have you on the show. Thanks so much for taking the time
Glad
to come
to
on.
be here. Hello.
Really glad you took the time to make it up here and talk a little bit with us. And I want to jump right in, because we're at a genre convention, we're at a horror convention, I want to jump right in and talk about your work with George Romero.
Sure.
And if you would, I'm going to bring up some movies and then kind of maybe give me a little reminiscence, if you will, about the particular movie or
Okay.
thoughts on it, whatever. That sounds cool.
If I can remember anything, sure.
Well, it's hard for all of us. But let's jump in Dawn of the Dead. You had a pretty memorable turn in Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about working with that.
That was fun. That was just, began my love affair of shotguns. If you remember, I had a shotgun, and they're fun.
Favorite firearm, is it?
Yeah, shotguns are pretty great. Yeah, I think they're the best at killing zombies. I still think they're the best weapon.
Now, tell me about getting into that whole. So you're on Dawn of the Dead. It wasn't like it is now. Walking Dead, isn't all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
you couldn't have known that. Years later, people would want you at conventions. People would want to come up to you and talk to you about your appearances.
No idea.
Tell me about kind of the movie and interacting and how you kind of what did you think you were walking into?
I had no idea, man. I had no idea. These are fun. You know, the people here are just the people watching is and the girl watching is spectacular. I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Most fun.
As we jump into that, your experience here, all jokes aside and everything, it's got to be. I ask a lot of people, it's got to be kind of rewarding that a lot of actors don't have the opportunity to interact on a basis that you're going to at a convention like this, where people very seriously walk away from you, smiles on their face, getting autographs and stuff.
I know, it's weird.
Yeah, what is that? Like, what?
It's
how
very
is that for you?
strange. It's it's odd. We don't. Yeah, that's exactly. You just summed up my feelings. It's very rewarding. It's a lot of fun. I love doing it. You know.
Now, for a convention like this. In Michigan, this is a big deal. There's bigger conventions, but here this is a pretty big deal. Gets a lot of publicity. A lot of people come out to this. How often do you do a convention like this? Is this something you do once a year, twice a year?
You know, I get like maybe once a year. Yeah, but one a year.
And you just fit it in with a filming schedule and work around that?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, back to the Romero stuff. And
Sure.
I'd be remiss if I don't ask stuff like this.
George
because
is great, man. You ever
my
met
friends,
him?
No,
Oh,
that
sweet
is
man.
my kind of a dream guest. We want to have him on the show. There was a couple we thought we might have him on, hasn't come to happen, but it will, I'm sure, soon enough. Obviously, you returned again to his film, so there must be a love there on both ends. Talk
That's
about
sweet.
working
He's a
with him.
sweet guy. I mean, he's like one of the nicest guys you've ever met in your life. You know, the greats always, one, they know what they're doing and they're calm because they know what they're doing. You know, and it's sweet man.
Is there something that is rewarding for you to come back to a director that you've worked with before, time and again? Do you like saying, "Oh, great, it's George again," and I get to know, and I know it's coming?
Oh yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, if you would, and how that works
You know,
for you.
it's nice. You know, when a guy wants to work with you. You know, it's very you know, it's very flattering. You know, so I'm like, yeah, anytime. You know, anything.
Excellent. Now,
Hey, I'd do porn if I had the equipment, you know? So
that's
I just love being on camera, you know?
that goes without saying, Boyd, everybody. Now, this is a genre convention, but you do all kinds of work, both in and out of genre stuff. But going on your IMDb page, I was noticing a lot of stuff you're doing lately in television.
Yeah.
And could you compare and contrast your working The Expanse, 12 Monkeys, shows like that? Can you talk about television and how the demands of that as opposed to a movie? Because I've had some interesting conversations in the past about, well, some people are like, wow, it's really demanding. Or some say, hey, I love it. You come in, you work a week, they tell you what needs to be done, and you're gone.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, the way they make TV these days, it is like, it's just like movies. It's the same thing, the same, you know? They are movies. Mm-hmm. You know, they're little movies now these days. TV's getting, you know, that good.
Do you have a preference as to, obviously work is work and you want to,
Yeah.
whatever, but nowadays, I guess with everything with sci-fi's putting out great stuff, HBO, Netflix, and all that, is it just you want to work at anything that's good? Is that kind of
like I said, yeah, I'll work. It's better than not working. Unemployment
it
sucks.
works pretty well, yeah.
Unemployment's the worst, man. It's just the worst. Horrible feeling, isn't it? We've all been there.
Hey, I have been there, and you're right.
We've all been. It's horrible.
Very much so. Hey, let's talk about things that people can look for coming down the pike here. What should people be looking for in 2016, 2017 from you? How can they support you?
I've got Hexecutioners should be coming out. Hexecutioners. That's a horror movie I did. That's my latest horror movie. And what's the other one? I'm blanking. I'm drawing a blank.
Well,
but Hexecutioners.
And I know The Expanse. You were in both The Expanse, 12 Monkeys. Those are both out new on DVD. So you were in that. People
Yeah,
look for
they
that
had a
kind
couple of
stuff.
days on that. Yeah. So those are out. And what was that one? It was Tony Burgess is this writer up in Canada. He's doing a lot of. He's just batshit crazy, this guy, and he makes some movies.
And you're from Saskatchewan, is that right?
I was born in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
And where are you at now?
I live in Toronto. I live in Toronto. I live in
Maple
Toronto.
Maple Leafs, Blue Jays.
No, I'm not. Thankfully, I'm not a Leaf fan.
Okay.
I couldn't imagine being
The
a
horror,
Leaf
the
fan.
horror. Well, as a Red Wing fan, I can understand for you. Again, before we let you go,
Sure.
I want to talk a little bit more about this convention experience.
Yeah.
And I had Todd Brunswick on, one of the presenters of the convention. He and his wife put the convention on. And they mentioned, and we kind of talked off camera about how much they really enjoyed having you. You're a return guest.
Oh yeah, that's
And
sweet.
there's not always return guests,
Yeah.
for whatever. Some people aren't invited back, let's say, and some people are. But one of the nice things I thought was real nice, they said he's always got people coming to the table. People always leave with a smile, but he interacts at the convention. And you and a few other people, it wasn't just, but it wasn't just they were talking.
Yeah.
But there were some nice things said about you,
That's
and I
sweet.
thought that was pretty neat. So talk about why it's important to you to get involved, interact with the fans, and kind of just party and have some fun with people.
It's flattering, and it's and also it's fun, and alcohol really helps. I mean, I do it sober too, but throw some beers on there. Oh, you're having a great time.
Well, I've certainly been there with you. I can understand that. Well, Boyd, before I let you go, is there anything else? So we asked you, is there anything I can help you promote? Is there a website or anything?
No, I don't have a
people need to see?
website. I don't have a website. No.
All right.
See you around sometime, though.
Hey, I really appreciate you
Well,
taking the
thanks for
time
having
to come
me.
on the show. We really enjoyed your work. And for all the fans that are watching this that don't really get a chance, thanks for all the stuff you've done and,
Oh,
and the
thanks.
enjoyment
Well, thanks
we
for
bring.
having me.
We appreciate it. With me was Boyd Banks. Stay tuned for more Cult Pop. Well, that wraps up our first day here at Motor City Nightmares. We absolutely love coming here every year. Todd and Tommy are such wonderful hosts. The guests are amazing, and it makes for a wonderful show for us. We have a great time. So this was show number 1. Stay tuned next time for shows number 2 and 3.